And the Democrats, my God, please find somebody who can lead. Gavin Newsom is out here in California. Out here in California. Pulling off in his own way what I think he wants to. He's being known more for trolling Trump on his podcast or with other interviews than what he's actually doing in the state of California. They think that's leadership because they don't have it.
Bill Maher just went straight at the Democrats' comeback playbook, and the contradictions are getting impossible to ignore. Since their crushing loss, it's been pivot after pivot, reset after reset, and none of it's landing. Not with voters, not with the media, not even their own base. Now, on his latest show, Maher lays out exactly why it's all falling apart, and we've got the full breakdown right here.
Democrats are not doing with this is leading. The energy in their parties with the young people who learn everything about Israel on TikTok. They don't know shit. And their leaders are not standing up and saying, kids, you don't know what's going on here. Every war Israel has fought is a war of defense.
Right.
Every war, they were attacked first.
Well,
and they're not doing that.
Bill Maher's take is blunt. The DNC's biggest mistake is refusing to be fully honest with younger voters. This isn't a messaging slip, it's a credibility problem. He argues the party is pushing selective narratives, shaping a one-sided view of reality while leaving out the context that actually matters. And that changes everything. Because if young voters got the full picture, they'd question more, follow less, and think deeper. Instead, Maher says they're being pulled in by emotion, not facts, and that's exactly why the party keeps drifting further off course.
With traditional and conventional Democrats, let's have just a speck of empathy for them in this regard. You got a younger generation of progressive Democrats that pretty much are making their influence felt. And then you've got the old guard that are at the mercy of them. They want to maintain power. And you want to sit up, you got to receive votes. Look at what happened in New York City. No disrespect, but do we really think that Zohran Mamdani was the most qualified candidate to be mayor of New York City? Come on now, we know better. I'm wishing him well. I'm not being disrespectful. He's smart, he's sharp, he's quick on his feet. I'm not disrespecting him in any way. But he had never done anything. You got a governor, a former governor, who was a 3-term governor, coasting to his fourth before the scandal hit. You boot him out of office. He's qualified to get your support.
And then comes the eyebrow raiser. The DNC backs Zohran Mamdani, still early in his career, for a high-stakes mayoral race. Meanwhile, Andrew Cuomo, a battle-tested 3-term governor, is right there, but sidelined after a scandal that quickly faded from the spotlight. That's the contrast. Experience versus inexperience, and the party chose the latter. Bill Maher's point, that decision says everything about the DNC's priorities, and raises serious questions about whether experience even matters anymore.
For 3 terms, en route to 4, to run the state. But you don't want to run in the city. And you're going to hand the reins to a 33-year-old
he's also a communist.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not saying that as a slur.
All right.
I'm saying that's his political view. It's a view you're allowed to have in this country, and people are allowed to vote for it.
So you have people that don't mind that, and they want that in this country. And unfortunately, if you're a Chuck Schumer or some of the old guards, you're at the mercy of all of that, still trying to stay in office, knowing that you got voters out there that would support that.
Critics say a growing number of young DNC supporters are being pulled toward communist-style ideas, not by history, but by how they're packaged. Big promises soft on real-world outcomes. Bill Maher's point, where the seasoned voices like Schumer laying out the full picture, history, economics, global reality. Because without that context, you don't get informed voters, you get a generation buying into ideas without understanding the consequences.
One of the main people who is in his administration, you can read her tweets, and there are many crazy ones, like just home ownership is racist, even though something like 40 million black people own homes.
Yes.
Okay, but also she'd vote more communists. I'm not paraphrasing. Yes. Vote more, and he stood by her.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to read between the lines here.
Yes. Then turning around and asking the president for $21 billion.
Well, I mean, as the person who said Democrats are too weak and woke, I think that's your quote. I mean, this has got to be what you're talking.
Bill Maher is tapping into something real. The Democrats look indecisive, reactive, and driven by their loudest voices. That didn't come out of nowhere. Years of refusing to challenge their own extremes created a vacuum, and more polarizing ideas rushed in. Now the problem. Once core values get tied to positions too far from the economic center, credibility starts to crack. Most Americans still back free market capitalism, and if the DNC drifts too far from that, it's not just moderates they lose, it's the entire coalition.
What you're getting at is, and I feel this when I travel, particularly in the middle of the country, like, it is hard to miss as an elected leader that people are so desperate for some kind of change. Like the young people in particular will either like take it from you nicely or they will eventually kick down the door. It's just a matter of figuring out which one is going to come first. And I think the old guard has not yet caught up to the fact that the game that they learned to play, it's a totally different game now. It's a totally different operation, and they haven't adapted and they haven't left. And so no matter where you go, I think Mamdani is a New York City thing. I don't think that would work in other places.
Might work here.
Yes, young voters want change, but Bill Maher says the problem isn't the demand, it's the lack of context. Critics warn that without experienced voices explaining U.S. policy and economic fundamentals, that energy gets misdirected. Instead, many are learning from bite-sized, emotion-driven content on platforms like TikTok, where complex ideas get oversimplified. And the result, not ignorance, just an incomplete picture no one ever fully explained.
I think it's a symptom of a bigger issue, which is the old guard of politics. It's done. It's over. It doesn't work anymore. And it's certainly, on my side of the aisle, not playing effective offense against Donald Trump.
Yet, there are things to be learned from Mamdani. You can take politics aside, policy aside. Very few Democrats, very few Republicans, I can't think of many, who have been able to insult, disparage, and go at Trump and still sometimes get results that are favorable for the people you represent with Trump's blessing.
For sure.
And
because he had him to the Oval Office.
Well, but whatever, he had the headline that he gave him and the different things.
You.
I mean, it's not
the
that.
guy is, it's all about personal with him.
Yes.
Donald Trump is not home at night reading the briefing books. I promise you.
The panel's right. Going all in on attacking Trump isn't weakening him, it's fueling him. Every hit reinforces his outsider image and tightens his grip on voters who already distrust the system. Bill Maher's takeaway: the strategy may be backfiring. Trump's even gaining ground with key groups that once leaned Democrat, not huge numbers, but enough to swing close races. And once that trend sets in, it's hard to argue this playbook is still working.
However, the idea of the status quo having been successful, when you see how quickly the next generation has had a completely different life than the one before, it's hard for people to truly trust that the old guard knows what they're doing in the long run. I mean, a generation ago, they were still saying UFOs, for Christ's sakes. Well, it's now UAP, So the idea of all these things are happening. I mean, you look at it, and young people, maybe they don't have it wrong.
No, it's still the
maybe it's the others who do.
Well, it could be both. I mean, it's the economy, stupid. I've asked this question so many weeks on this show, and I can never get an answer. I just don't understand the American economy. I really don't. I don't understand how there could be so much wealth, and I pay so much in taxes, and it doesn't seem to get to the people. Like, I don't even mind doing it. Well, over half, always, way over half.
Now it gets real. Bill Maher puts Gavin Newsom on the spot. Where is all that tax money going? California charges top dollar, but the results don't match. He points to the high-speed rail, years behind, costs exploding, little to show. Meanwhile, homelessness keeps getting worse. Delays, overruns, no accountability. Maher's point: if people are paying more, they expect results, not bigger problems.
And the Democrats, my God, please find somebody who can lead. Gavin Newsom is out here in California. Pulling off in his own way what I think he wants to. He's being known more for trolling Trump on his podcast or with other interviews than what he's actually doing in the state of California. They think that's leadership because they don't have it.
Stephen A. Smith hits it clean. This isn't about how much you're taxed, it's about where the money goes. The frustration comes from spending that feels totally disconnected from everyday life. Instead of roads, safety, and stability, voters see massive projects with little impact. Bill Maher's takeaway: people aren't just mad about taxes, they're mad about paying more and getting less.
The problem that I'm having with this conversation right now is that we're accusing the politicians of not knowing. They know. $39+ trillion in debt.
Yeah.
You can't pay TSA workers $1 billion over the last month, but you could spend $800 million to $2 billion a day. And somehow, some way, you find that money to finance a war. You knew you had the damn money. You knew where it was. You knew how you wanted to allocate it, and you knew you didn't want it to go to the American people. That ain't ignorance. That's viciousness. That's cruelty. That's not thinking about the American.
And that's the full circle. Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith aren't just calling out people. they're exposing deeper problems inside the DNC. Weak messaging, questionable leadership calls, big spending with weak results, and a Trump strategy that may be backfiring. Bottom line, it's not an ideas problem. It's a clarity, accountability, and trust problem. And if that doesn't change, they risk losing the very voters they're trying to win. If this breakdown hit different, hit like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below. See you in the next one.